But there's something I wanted to talk about. This has been on my mind a little while. So you remember a few weeks ago, Donald Trump pardoned like 1,500 people who were investigated, tried, and convicted and sentenced for their part in the January 6th insurrection that took place at the Capitol when Trump told everybody to, have fun storming the castle. He didn't say that. That was Billy Crystal. But you know what I'm saying, right? On January 6th, his mob went wild. They went wild and they broke into Congress, delayed the counting of the electoral ballots, all that kind of stuff. So he pardoned them all of them. Charged with trespassing, pardoned. Charged with beating a cop, pardoned. All of them. Charged with insurrection, pardon. All of them. Now, of course, the media, CNN, in this particular case, this was an interview I caught on CNN where Mark Wayne Mullen was asked, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was asked, because he was there and he had some really, really strong words after it happened. And she asked him, Aaron Burnett asked him, how do you make this make sense for yourself? How can you defend people like that? And he and not just him. I mean, Lindsey Graham did it, and all of the Republicans that legacy media interviewed, pretty much to a person. Well, it's Trump's prerogative. It's the president's prerogative. He has that power. And Joe Biden did it. Joe Biden pardoned people. He got them off death row, and instead they're going to serve life in prison. So he did all that kind of stuff. He commuted the sentences. Excuse me, that's the term. Well, Joe Biden commuted the sentences, and you guys didn't have anything to say about that. Or Joe Biden pardoned his family, and you didn't say anything. Or Joe Biden did this, or Joe Biden did that, and you didn't say this, you didn't say that, you didn't say nothing. And it didn't matter. Like Mark Wayne Mullen, senator from Oklahoma, he's like, well, when it happened, he was talking about how, he was talking about what he said to the people that were going to break in, and how he thought they were wrong, and to be very charitable in what I'm saying. He did not have a positive opinion about those January 6th that broke into the Congress. None of them did. None of them at the time of said, well, they're feeling a little exuberant, probably impassioned. They didn't mean this kind of thing. They're just here to support the president. We'll get over it. No, they were all really, really upset by this. But after Trump pardoned them, of course, they have a different line to toe. And what they did was Trump only did what Biden did. Which I get. We do that all the time, right? We do that all the time. I'm allowed to do it because they did it. I'm allowed to do it because those folks did it. I'm allowed to do it because that crowd over there did it. I'm allowed to do it because my little sister did it. I'm allowed to do it because my big brother did it. I'm allowed to do it because I saw my parents do it, whatever the case might be, right? It's that whole mentality of I'm allowed to do whatever I see other people doing. If the precedent has been set, I can do it too. If you can get away with it, so can I. Superficially, that makes a lot of sense. It does. It makes a lot of sense. But again, and I come back to this, following Christ is not about embracing our superficial, human, intuitional, instinctual ideas. Following Christ is about following Christ. It's about going to war with our intuition. It's about going to war with our instincts. It's about going to war with our human nature. It's about becoming more. It's about standing up, standing out, and being more than the sum of our parts, even. I think that might be even a nice way of putting it. I'm meant to be more than just a human. I'm meant to be Christ-like. I'm not going to I'm not going to do the things that I've always done. I'm going to do what Jesus would call me to do. I'm not going to do the things that I can get away with. I'm going to do the things that Jesus would do. I'm not going to do the things that the law tells me I can get away with. I'm going to do what Jesus tells me to do. I'm going to be even greater than the law. I'm not going to do what those people got away with doing simply because they got away with doing it. And because I want to do it. I'm going to do what Jesus tells me to do. See, we're not supposed to arrive at our standards by looking around at the people around us. Well, they can do it, so can I. They did it, so can I. That's not how we're supposed to figure out what is and is not acceptable. It's not how we're supposed to figure out what is and is not possible. It's not how we're supposed to figure out what we may or may not do. The guide for that is Christ. We're to look to the life, the behaviors, the words, the actions, the miracles of Jesus. And we're supposed to apply those things. Those things become our standard. His life becomes our standard. So to Mark Wayne Mullen, it doesn't matter that Joe Biden got away with it. It doesn't matter that Joe Biden did it. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean we should do it. Just because Joe Biden did it doesn't mean Donald Trump should do it. And therefore should not be excused for doing it because somebody else did it before him. And likewise, Joe Biden did all this stuff because Donald Trump did it. It's not a good reason. It's not a good excuse. And Donald Trump doesn't get to do something just because Barack Obama did it. It's not a good excuse. It's not a good reason. We don't live by the standards that others set. We don't live our lives according to the precedents that other people have set. Christians are supposed to follow Christ. We are supposed to emulate Jesus. He is the one that shows us what is and is not acceptable, and no other. So, for you and I saw Reverend Ed say this. Well, if Reverend Ed was wrong, you don't follow. If Reverend Ed is doing something that is different than what Jesus would have you do, don't follow. If a president, a prime minister, a business leader, a billionaire, a celebrity, an actress, a singer, if the cast of Gilligan's Island tells us this is okay to do, it doesn't mean that it is. If it is running counter to the teachings of Jesus, it doesn't mean that it is. Jesus is the one from whom we derive our life. He's the one that sets out what is and is not acceptable. It is his call on our lives that guide us. Nobody else. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if we're using that whole, well, they did it so we can do it too excuse, that it is literally just they've done something and I want it. They've done something and I want to do it too. We know we shouldn't. But since the precedent is set, we get to. Well, it's not a good reason for us. Amen.